MSW Media.
So yeah, now it's clean up on aisle 45 time. And for a long while yet, it is going to be clean up on aisle 45.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 273 of Clean Up on Aisle 45. It's Wednesday, April 15th, tax day, 2026. I'm Allison Gill.
Wow, thanks for the reminder. Let me hop on TurboTax real quick.
Do you know where your taxes are going?
Man, I just got to make sure I file for my extension. I'll do them in like September sometime.
Totally.
What's up, y'all? It's Harry Dunn here. Okay, we got a lot to cover today. What a busy weekend and lead up into the week Friday. House Ethics Committee opening a probe into sexual assault allegations against Eric Swalwell, along with everything else Congress is contending with now that they're back in session.
Yeah, they've got a big agenda of probably accomplishing nothing. And
so the usual then.
The huge when Republicans are in control.
Yeah.
And we have a federal judge dismissing the lawsuit brought by 5 Proud Boys, but kind of on a technicality. They can probably refile that. We'll go over that. But a different federal judge has dismissed Trump's lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal. Remember his $10 billion lawsuit against Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal? That's out. But first, before we get into any of that, we have some Hall of Fame patrons to thank. So thanks to Greg Robin Smith, a.k.a. Benjamin Franklin Live, Charles Jones, at Dirt Road Dems, January 20 Baby, Sharon Tukalski, Ren Special K, Kaido, Cliff Cash, who you have to check out on socials if you're not following him. He's a great comedian. Yeah. Law offices of Redacted, Epstein, and Redacted, hugely criminal attorneys. Wonder how they're feeling about the weird Melania pre-confession that came out last week. Chris McCullough and Trisecular Manslaughter. Thank you so much for supporting us and supporting independent media. All right. We got to talk about it.
Yeah.
We got to talk about what happened with Congressman Eric Swalwell, also candidate for governor of California, who has withdrawn from the race. But I wanted to kind of go over a little bit of a timeline. I know, Harry, as soon as that news came out over the weekend, you responded really swiftly and quickly and decisively.
Yeah. No, if people have been following along, like I saw it on the news, Miss Frazzled, I guess is where I saw some of the post that, hey, this could be coming. And I have a very close friend who worked for Congressman Swalwell. And she shared some stuff with me earlier in the week. I think it was like Tuesday or Wednesday, before the news broke. And, it wasn't sexual assault, but just some of his patterns and behavior and some of the things that she had seen that caught me to cause a little bit of concern, raise some eyebrows. And then obviously with the reporting that came out, it was like, oh my gosh, we live in this world where we say we have to, believe women. And not even just women. Well, yes, women too, but victims, survivors, because sexual assault victims can be men also, and we need to believe them. So I listen, and I caught a lot of heat for this. Well, not even a lot of heat, because majority of the people acknowledged that this was the right thing to do. Talking about how, hey, you're prosecuting somebody before the trial, and it's like, wait a minute, I pulled an endorsement. I didn't put him in jail. I pulled my endorsement. Look, it takes a lot of work to get an endorsement, and it takes a lot of due diligence to make sure when you pull it. So I did my research, and I didn't feel comfortable attaching my name to anything that he's going through. And I'm going to believe the victims until proven otherwise.
Yeah. And there's a lot of different layers to this too, right? It's not just somebody saying that this happened and that's it in a vacuum. This is 4 different women. And there were, when something has to come out in corporate media like this, mainstream media, because like you said, it was all over Threads for months.
Yeah.
But for a media outlet to correctly report the story, they have to double and triple confirm with multiple sources. There were outcry witnesses. There was corroboration.
Yep.
Of the woman telling people that it happened when it happened. That's called outcry. Corroboration. There's medical records, hotel receipts, text messages, things like that. So this isn't just a straight up accusation with nothing else around it. This is the kind of corroboration, for example, we saw with Christine Blasey Ford.
Yes.
and what happened with Kavanaugh, right? And that goes a long way. And for people to say, I don't believe it until there's a conviction in court is a way of victim blaming in my experience, because you've got all this corroborating evidence. Like something around 2% of rape cases actually get a conviction in court. It's very, very rare. So to say that you're not going to believe anybody despite all the corroborating evidence, unless there's a conviction at trial, fine. That's your, that's your prerogative.
Sure.
But I think that there are ways to believe credible and horrible accusations without having to have a jury get a conviction.
Yeah.
That's just me, because my vote and my support of a candidate isn't a court of law.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's, one of the, I guess, most bizarre comments or responses to when I posted on social media, it said, where's the evidence? Victim statements, it's considered evidence. Like, what do you mean? You have 4 different victims. You have a person on the record using their name who's not anonymous. I mean, what are we doing here? Like, so I just thought it was very disappointing. The people, and listen, I understand that there are people who fabricate things. There are people who lie. There are smear campaigns that is 100% a thing. However, public opinion matters. I mean, hell, that's literally what an election is. It's the court of public opinion, not the legal court. If that was the case, Donald Trump wouldn't be president because he's a 34-time convicted felon. But it's the court of public opinion. So, that's what it's about. And also, like I said, are we going to or not believe victims? Like, you can't have it both ways when it's just Republicans or if it's MAGA. No, we need to keep the same energy for predators, no matter who they are. And that's the whole thing with this Epstein files. Isn't that what it's about? We don't care who it is. We don't care even if it was beloved Eric Swalwell. Absolutely not. He needs to be held accountable. And he'll have his day to prove, to fight the allegations, because we saw Manhattan. Is it Manhattan or somewhere in New York? Is filing a criminal investigation too, not just House ethics, right?
Oh, no, right. Yeah, and I'll get into that in the timeline here in a second. But, you're absolutely right. And we're not dumb. Like when Tara Reade's allegation came out against Joe Biden, there was nothing corroborating it. There was no receipts. There was no medical records. There was nothing.
Yeah.
And so everybody was skeptical and rightfully so. When those Berkman and Wohl, remember those guys?
I remember that name. Where's that from?
Tried to say that Robert Mueller had sexually assaulted Professor Jen Taub.
Yes.
We're like, okay, no, probably not. But with, if you actually go through and read the CNN or San Francisco Chronicle article here, there's just tons of corroborating evidence, very credible. And then 50 Here, let me go through the timeline. So again, like you said, it started months ago with Mrs. Frazzled, talking to multiple women and posting about it on Threads and Insta. Then a lot of research and confirmation went into that, a San Francisco Chronicle article that picked it up, and that was over the weekend. And then that was swiftly followed by CNN, who seemingly was also working on this at the same time, because it takes a long time to put that kind of reporting together. Then Swalwell put out a video, which I think did more harm than good, where he said, I'm not a saint. That's between me and my wife. Like he's admitting that he's done bad sexual stuff. And I guess maybe his argument is going to be that it was consensual. But he put out that video and, I'm thinking, look, an intoxicated subordinate can't give consent. But again, this is the timeline. And then, like you said, the Manhattan DA saw there was enough evidence to predicate opening a criminal probe, a criminal investigation in Manhattan. And the California Bay Area District Attorney is also looking into whether to open a probe, though that assault happened in 2019. But there is no statute of limitations for sex crimes, especially if there's DNA. But I don't know that there is in this case. And there is a 10-year window for civil action. And I am hearing a rumor that there may be a lawsuit from a new accuser that would be filed on Tuesday, which is yesterday if you're listening to this on Wednesday. And then 50 former staffers of Swalwell wrote a letter saying that they believed the women. And after that, Swalwell dropped out of the governor's race. He still maintains his innocence in that post where he dropped out, but again said he's no saint or whatever.
Yeah.
Which I think is a weird and interesting way of resigning, like just resign or just drop out of the race. He hasn't resigned from Congress yet, but I think that may be coming in the next couple of days. And now, because now the House Ethics Committee has opened an investigation. So that's where we are. But what, you have that letter from the House Ethics Committee, right?
Yeah. But real quick, I do want to say, I want to talk about that video he put out real quick, because you're right. I think that it did more harm than good. And look, what happens in people's marriages, I think it's between them. So that, if people cheat or not even cheat, people have open relationships. There's a lot of different dynamics of relationships. So, that's not my concern. Or I don't think that should be any of our concerns. What should we be concerned about is the actual victims that are here. And also how telling it is that you have 50 former staffers. Now, these aren't Republicans. These are people that are Democrats. So the angle of this is a Republican hit piece. These are all his staffers. But the Ethics Committee has opened an investigation. And here's what the letter says. The committee, pursuant to Committee Rule 18A, has begun an investigation and will gather additional information regarding the allegations that Representative Eric Swalwell violated the Code of Official Conduct or any law, rule, regulation, or any applicable standard of conduct in the performance of his duties or discharge of his responsibilities with respect to the allegations that he may have engaged in sexual misconduct, including towards an employee working under his supervision.
Yeah. And, like I said, as soon as that CNN story dropped, because I didn't see the Chronicle until the CNN story came out, I got that text from you from hours earlier, actually, saying that you were withdrawing your endorsement. And this is heartbreaking for a lot of people who supported Eric Swalwell, thought he was a good dude,
I definitely did.
It's a betrayal. It's a public betrayal of trust. And it's hard. And it's also hard to, as I'm sure you said that you received when you withdrew your support, it's really hard to kind of, I guess, take all of the comments from people who are like yelling at you for withdrawing your support.
Yeah.
That was it was a tough weekend. I got a lot of victim blaming in my replies. It was an onslaught of innocent until proven guilty type stuff.
I also kind of take it, it's kind of a slap in the face to assume that I would have just a knee-jerk reaction. Oh, everybody else is doing it. No, I did my due diligence. I did some digging around. I asked some questions. I talked to people. I read the articles. I looked at the allegations. I unfortunately, sad to say, I just found out that this wasn't something I was sitting on or a Washington kept secret. No, I just found this stuff out. So I'm inclined to believe those people. And Eric's a friend. He's a friend. Like, I know his wife. I know. Hell, I left my job early when I was still a Capitol Police officer to be a police officer at his son's birthday party. And I was, passing out stickers with the kids and letting them, play with my handcuffs. I can say that now since I'm no longer employed by the Capitol Police. But I mean, he's a friend. He's a friend. I met his dad, his family. So this hurt. And like I said, the decision wasn't made lightly. So it's kind of insulting that people would assume that this was just part of a smear campaign and just, don't throw him under the bus. I considered Eric a friend. So, I mean, like I said, he'll get his day in court, but I believe the victims.
Yeah, and I got to say, as a SA survivor myself, I think the thing that gutted me was, he was a prosecutor. He was a DA in charge of prosecuting sexual assault. And to think systemically that there are people in positions with the power to prosecute sexual assault who are also sexual assaulters. Like, that's what I think.
That's scary.
Where my mind first went. It's like,
that's scary.
Of all these people who are supposed to help me, how many of them have hurt other people as well? So we're going to continue to keep, our eye on this. He has dropped out of the governor's race. We're 7 weeks away from the primary. We're 3 weeks away from getting our ballots in the mail. We'll have to see how everything shakes out. But
But also, I think, AG, with that, like you said, with the election coming up, there's still time to coalesce, is that the right word? Around a Democrat. Listen, we can't have, and I say we, just as a concerned American, we can't have two Republicans on the ticket in November. Is that right?
No. I hate our all-party primary. Us in Washington have them, and it's like, it doesn't allow you to vote for the person you really want. You have to strategically vote to ensure that a Democrat gets on the ticket in the general. So that always bothers me, and I hope the California Democratic Party gets rid of that, or we do some sort of ballot initiative
something about it,
to stop that, because I like to vote with my whole chest for who I really support based on their platform, and I hate to have to go in and say, okay, but who's polling the highest?
Yeah.
It's a bad system, in my opinion.
That doesn't sound idealistic, but there's still time to coalesce and get behind a Democrat to make sure that Democrats still control the great state of California.
Yeah, and we'll see how it shakes out. So, apart from this new congressional ethics investigation into Swalwell, Congress has a whole host of stuff they have to address. Now that they're back in session, we're going to talk about that after this break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
All right, everybody. Okay, welcome back. Okay, Congress now is back in session, and NBC has the breakdown of what's going on with their agenda after a 2-week recess, while parts of the government are still shut down, by the way. Congress returns Monday to a growing agenda. It will need to fund the still shuttered Department of Homeland Security, for which Republicans want to pass a separate party line bill to fund ICE and Border Patrol.
Even though it's funded by a giant slush fund in the big ugly bill. And there's a push in the House to expel up to 4 members, including, as we know, Swalwell, who ended his campaign for governor of California over the weekend after multiple women accused him of sexual assault and misconduct. There will also be a debate about President Donald Trump's ongoing war in Iran, which faces an uncertain future, as he says he's deploying U.S. assets to the region to close the Strait of Hormuz, which is already closed, but okay.
Speaking of the war in Iran, this guy was at a UFC fight. Oh my God, what a joke. The Department of Homeland Security has been shut down for a record 58 days. Though Trump recently signed an executive order aimed at paying all employees. Democrats will not vote for funding for ICE and Customs and Border Protection without substantial reforms to immigration enforcement. So Republicans plan to go at it alone. And you know what? It has not been easy.
Yeah, they got to get reelected. That's why. House and Senate Republicans clashed bitterly over a path forward before Easter. But then since House GOP leaders have acquiesced to the Senate's approach, a full fund all of DHS except ICE and CBP through the regular bipartisan process, and fund those two entities, ICE and CBP, in a separate Republican-only budget reconciliation bill. So if you want to fund them, you can do it by your damn selves.
Damn self, yeah.
Still, there's uncertainty on the road ahead. House Republicans want to see Senate action on the bill for ICE and Border Patrol before they vote on a Senate-passed bill to fund DHS. They're like, you go first. It's so dumb. So they're like, you Senate, you do the budget reconciliation bill to fund ICE and CBP. Then we'll vote to fund the rest of DHS without ICE and CBP. But you got to do your thing first before we get the budget rec. It's just a mess.
It's just a mess. Yeah,
Republicans in disarray.
But they put themselves in this position. Let's be aware of that. That could come in the form of the Senate advancing a budget resolution to begin the process, which Majority Leader John Thune wants to adopt on the floor by the end of April. Republicans are planning to hit the gas on a party line budget bill to bypass a Senate filibuster known as reconciliation. That would allow them to advance portions of their agenda, like funding ICE and the Border Protection, without any Democratic votes.
Go for it. You want to fund ICE? You want to get behind ICE in the midterms?
With the tough elections going on? Good luck.
Go for it, bro. Quote, the reconciliation train is on the tracks. That's Lindsey Graham, the budget committee chair. Great. Go for it. Again, more power to you. Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso, who attended the meeting, said Republicans are united and ready to deliver on Trump's request to pass this budget reconciliation bill to fund ICE on top of the $75 billion slush fund it has in the beautiful big ugly bill or whatever. It's unclear whether the package will include military or war funding. As we know, Trump wants another $1.5 trillion. Graham told NBC News it would have to be a very tailored, focused package to get the votes. He added that he may skip committee action and send the budget straight to the floor. And I think you're actually going to have a hard time passing ICE and a separate ICE funding bill. I think you're going to have a hard time doing it, even with just Republicans.
Because that's just a standalone bill for ICE, which is extremely unpopular. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they had a better chance of having it all together. But that's another story. Another legislative task at hand is the expiration of Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, FISA, on April 20th. The law empowers the government to conduct warrantless surveillance of foreigners living abroad. Civil liberties advocates in Congress have pushed for years to add privacy protections, as the existing program sometimes sweeps up data on Americans. Yeah,
specifically Lindsey Graham.
Specifically Lindsey, right?
I mean, we're looking at, tapping wires over in Russia for like super bad guys, and they're talking to Lindsey Graham, and that's called unmasking. And then they're like, why are you doing? That's how we got Carter Page and why they're all mad about that. But watch, they'll vote for it.
Yep.
Even though that's how Carter Page was wrapped up and got investigated. But let's talk about the expulsions. Lawmakers' bad behavior will be in the spotlight this week. There may be efforts to expel 4 House members, 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans in the coming days, as politicians try to send a message that sexual harassment and assault, as well as other illegal behavior, won't be tolerated. Swalwell saw his career implode over the weekend after a former staffer alleged that she had a sexual encounter with him while he was her boss, and that he later twice sexually assaulted her when she was too intoxicated to consent. He dropped out of the governor's race, as we know, after other women raised sexual misconduct allegations, and scores of supporters on and off the Hill abandoned his campaign.
Yeah, members of both parties say they will support expelling Swalwell from Congress, as well as Representative Tony Gonzalez out of Texas.
Now, they weren't gonna expel Gonzalez until they had another Democrat they could expel so that the vote stays even.
Yeah, how long ago did that happen? Exactly. They care about the votes, so I can't afford to lose another vote. Tony Gonzalez, who has admitted to having an extramarital relationship with a staffer, a violation of House rules. The staffer died by suicide last year. And another woman, a former top campaign aide, said he had sent her sexually explicit text messages while she worked for him and aggressively urged her to have sex with him. Gonzalez said he made a mistake in regarding the affair, and his office did not respond to requests to comment on the text he allegedly sent to the campaign top aide.
Yeah, so Republicans, I guess, are too dumb to use Signal or Snapchat with disappearing messages.
Unbelievable.
In either case, it's unclear if the votes will hit the 2/3 threshold required to expel a member of Congress, particularly before an ethics committee investigation is concluded. Expulsion is extremely rare, and last happened when George Santos was thrown out of office in late 2023 after a scathing House ethics report and a 23-count federal criminal felony indictment. Other lawmakers are targeting scandal-plagued Rep. Corey Mills from Florida, a Republican who's facing an ethics investigation focused on allegations of campaign finance violations, sexual misconduct, and dating violence, and abusing his position regarding a federal contract. And finally, the House could vote to expel another Floridian, Democrat Sheila Sheriff-Phyllis McCormick, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, whom a special House ethics subcommittee found guilty of 25 ethics charges just before lawmakers departed for the Easter break.
Yeah, the vote capped a 3-year ethics and criminal probe into allegations she stole millions of dollars in federal relief funds and funneled some of that into her successful 2022 campaign. Sheriff-Phyllis McCormick has said she is innocent and pleaded not guilty to a related federal criminal charge. The full ethics panel will meet on October 21st to determine what sanctions to recommend. But it is possible that the House could hold a vote before that.
And Harry, I want to break in here. I'm getting some breaking news.
Okay.
I am getting news that Eric Swalwell has resigned from Congress. I'm looking now for confirmation of that.
Do you think by doing that, is he saving himself the embarrassment, I guess, or his family the embarrassment?
He says, I'm deeply sorry to my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes and judgment I've made in the past. I will fight the false allegations. However, I must take responsibility of the mistakes I did make. I'm aware of efforts to bring an immediate expulsion vote. Expelling anyone without due process within days of an election being made is wrong. It's 7 weeks. But it's also wrong for my constituents to have me distracted from my duties. I plan to resign my seat in Congress.
Wow.
Yep, he has resigned.
Wow. Well, there you go.
Wow. All right. So they don't have to do the investigation or the expulsion vote, at least not on Eric Swalwell.
Will they still do it on their others, though?
But when? It says, I will work with my staff in the coming days to ensure they're able in my absence to serve the needs of the people of the 14th District. So it doesn't have a date. It doesn't say effective immediately. I'm assuming it's effective immediately. But there you go. There you have it. He has resigned from Congress. So
Wow.
All right. Back to what else Congress has to do.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Next on the agenda is Iran. The Senate is expected to face another vote to block Trump from taking military action, a war powers resolution. Chuck Schumer is going to force it, and the Democrats have coalesced against the war. So Schumer's going to force that vote this week to end it. Republicans have previously blocked those efforts, but that was before Trump threatened to wipe out, quote, a whole civilization if Iran didn't accede to his demands before proclaiming a ceasefire that has been on shaky ground.
Yeah, CBS News poll released Sunday found that 60% of U.S. adults disapprove of the U.S. taking military action against Iran, while 40% approve. The survey found that 61% of Americans believe the war is going badly. 66% say he hasn't clearly explained U.S. goals in the conflict. Just 66, like, you can approve of it, but he hasn't told anybody what the plan is. 64% say the stated objectives are changing, and 62% say Trump does not have a clear plan for the war. Democrats have also seized on rising gas prices and disruptions in food supply chains after the attacks by U.S. and Israel led Iran to shut down the Strait of Hormuz.
No, we're blocking it now. So weird.
That's what it is.
So weird. All right. Well, that's a lot on their plate now that they don't have to do an expulsion vote. I wonder if the Senate or the House Ethics Committee will continue its investigation into Swalwell if he's resigning from Congress. Maybe he's trying to avoid what happens with that, but he can't duck out of what's going on in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and possible other forthcoming lawsuits. So we'll keep an eye on all of that and more. But next, we have to talk about all of these lawsuits getting dismissed left and right. We're going to talk about that after this break. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. Next up, from the Wall Street Journal themselves, a federal judge on Monday dismissed Trump's defamation lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal. U.S. District Judge Darren Gales, based in Miami, ruled that Trump had not made a valid legal claim, that he was defamed by an article about a letter to financier Jeffrey Epstein bearing Trump's name. This is the gross drawing with the poem about our special secrets or whatever. The judge said that to show defamation, Trump had to demonstrate that the Journal and its reporters acted with actual malice, meaning they deliberately published a false story or showed reckless disregard for the truth. Trump failed to show that the reporters acted with ill will and deliberately avoided investigating his claims that the letter was fake. That's what the judge said.
Yeah, of course. The complaint comes nowhere close to this standard. Quite the opposite, wrote Gales, who was appointed by President Barack Obama. He noted that the journalists reached out to Trump Justice Department officials and the FBI before publication. In short, the complaint and the article confirmed that the defendants attempted to investigate. The judge said Trump could file a new amended lawsuit if he wishes and gave him until April 27th to do so.
Yeah, go ahead and try it again. It's not going to work. A spokesman for Trump's legal team said the president is going to refile this powerhouse lawsuit, the powerhouse lawsuit that just got thrown out against the Journal and other defendants. A spokeswoman for the Journal's publisher, Dow Jones and Company, said, "We stand by the reliability, rigor, and accuracy of the Wall Street Journal's reporting." The Wall Street Journal reported in July, by the way, just a week or so before Blanche met with Ghislaine Maxwell and then waived her sex offender status and moved her to a thing. I swear to God, she's the one leaking these things. That was July, that a book given to Epstein for his 50th birthday in 2003 included a letter with a typewritten text framed by the outline of a naked woman. It says woman. It seems like a girl to me. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret, he said. It was signed Donald, and we know how it was signed. The article included comments from Trump, who denied writing the letter and threatening legal action. So if you reached out to him and you published that he denied it, you can't get hit with a defamation suit.
Correct, because that means you
investigated.
You investigated it, and you know what? He said he denied it, and that was in their reporting. Like, okay, he doesn't understand that. But a day later, Trump sued Dow Jones and his parent company, News Corp, in federal court, seeking billions of dollars. The lawsuit also named as defendants News Corp chair emeritus Rupert Murdoch, his chief executive, Robert Thompson, and 2 journal reporters. Trump argued that no authentic letter or drawing existed and that the journal had sought to malign his character.
It's interesting. No authentic letter. It was a copy. And I think it was a copy Ghislaine Maxwell had in Discovery. But that's just tinfoil hat time.
You may be on to something, though. That lawyers for the Dow Jones says the article was true. And they cited a subsequent release of the letter by the House Oversight Committee, which received a copy of the birthday book from the Epstein estate.
Yeah. They also argued the contents of the letter were consistent with Trump's reputation, and noted that the article contained Trump's denial. Quote, President Trump has also publicly admitted to locker room talk and has made numerous body public statements, the lawyers wrote. Trump has said he's cut off ties long before Epstein was first arrested in 2006. Epstein pled guilty in Florida in a state court to soliciting a minor for prostitution in 2008. That was a sweetheart deal he got. Federal prosecutors in 2019 charged him with sex trafficking underage girls in Florida and New York. Epstein died in a Manhattan federal jail while awaiting trial. His death was ruled a suicide.
Yeah, the article's publication came as the Trump administration was besieged by questions about why it hadn't released more Epstein-related documents in the Justice Department's possession. In November, Congress passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act, remember, back in November, which required the Attorney General to make unclassified documents related to Epstein and his associate Ghislaine Maxwell publicly available within 30 days. Trump signed the legislation, and millions of pages, images, and other files have since been released.
But like half. The president for years has been a frequent litigant against media outlets. As we know, in September, a federal judge tossed Trump's $15 billion defamation suit against the New York Times, book publisher Penguin Random House, and several reporters. The ruling characterized the president's legal complaint as a politicized screed that violated basic court requirements. It was a shotgun pleading. Trump has since filed a new version of that complaint, and the Times and co-defendants have said the lawsuit lacks merit and have moved to dismiss it once again. Trump in December also sued the BBC for defamation over the broadcaster's editing of a documentary that featured his speech before the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot. BBC has moved to dismiss this case as well, and a spokesperson said the news organization would defend itself in court. So, yeah, but he doesn't file these suits to win. He would never get to discovery. If it came down to where he had to be deposed, he would drop his lawsuits. He only does this for it as an intimidation factor and red meat
to try to look tough.
Yeah.
Scare people.
Yeah, so this one's been tossed. I imagine some more will be tossed. And we're going to talk about another suit that was tossed, but kind of on a technicality, also in Florida. But we have to take one last quick break. So everybody stick around. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. Judge Ann Moe in the Middle District of Florida has dismissed a lawsuit brought by Proud Boys Enrique Tarrio, Ethan Nordine, Zachary Rail, Joseph Biggs, and Dominic Pizzola. I guess not having to go to prison for 22 years wasn't enough for them. They wanted to sue. The judge said that the plaintiffs alleged the power of the federal government was leveraged to, this is the Proud Boys, it was leveraged to investigate and prosecute them without probable cause, tap and record their attorney-client privileged phone conversations, illegally monitor and review their attorney-client email correspondence. I guess they've never heard of the crime-fraud exception. Gain an unfair advantage by using wrongfully gathered information to prosecute them. manufacture evidence of guilt by deliberately misrepresenting context and content of the wrongfully gathered evidence, search and seize their private property without probable cause, convince a federal judge to adopt a novel legal theory that made plaintiffs criminally liable for actions taken by people with whom plaintiffs have never been in contact. That's not a novel legal theory. It's called conspiracy. It's been around for a minute, fellas.
Conspiracy.
Place a paid confidential informant on their legal team who reported on plaintiffs' attorney-client communications and trial strategy, and to threaten an exculpatory witness with criminal prosecution if he testified on behalf of the plaintiffs. Okay, so all things that are legal to do when you're investigating someone.
I was just about to say, all of the things that they're saying, none of those are illegal, right? Like,
no.
Interesting.
And they didn't place a paid confidential informant on their legal team. It was Tario's girlfriend or Stuart Rhodes's girlfriend or something. Like, remember? Like, they didn't place her. She just flipped on him.
Yeah, she hated him. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, Tario would know a thing or two about confidential informants because he was one. On review of the Proud Boys' complaint, the court finds that certain technical pleading issues not raised by the defense necessitate resolution before the court rules on the defendant's motion. For that reason, the complaint is dismissed so that it can be amended to resolve the technical pleading matters, because amendment will render the defense motions moot. These motions may be refiled when the complaint has been amended.
Yeah, what that means is your lawsuit sucks.
Yeah.
And you have to file it properly because we can't even get to the defendant's motions until you fix your shit, Proud Boys. That's what it says. Here's what the legalese for that. Here, the technical issue is that the complaint filed by the Proud Boys does not allege specifically enough who did what. Because the complaint's allegations do not specify which defendant is alleged to be responsible for which act involving which plaintiff, the pleading fails to, quote, give the defendants adequate notice of the claims against them and the grounds upon which each claim rests. So the Proud Boys are like, all of y'all messed with all of us. And a complaint actually has to say, Nicole Miller messed with Nordine by doing this, right? You got to be specific. And they weren't. They were just like, you all suck and we deserve money. And so the judge is like, look, you gotta file this properly. I don't know who your lawyer is. It's clearly not the paid operative because they would have probably filed something better.
Did AI write this?
That's right. And so the judge is like, I can't even look at the United States motion to dismiss this case, or Nicole Miller, she's one of the defendants, defendants. I can't even look at her motion to dismiss until you fix your shit, Proud Boys.
Yep.
So it goes on to say plaintiff's complaint is therefore dismissed without prejudice for the purpose of repleader, which means file it again. And the Proud Boys are granted until April 30th to file an amended complaint in compliance with this court's order. Failure to timely comply with that order could result in dismissal of the case without further notice. So
it's 15 days from now.
Fix your shit. You got 15 days. If you don't fix it properly, I'm dismissing the whole thing.
Yep. What do you think's going to come from that, AG? Obviously, they refile.
They'll try to refile. It's going to cost them a lot of money, and that pleases me.
Yes, that's always a good thing.
But they still aren't going. I don't think they have a claim to begin with.
Sure.
And the reason that they can't specify who did what to whom is because no one did anything to anybody.
They don't know. Exactly. That's grasping for straws, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Called a shotgun
There's no
pleading.
there, as they say. There's no there.
Yeah. And you can't do that. You have to be very specific about who in the government did what to whom in the Proud Boys.
Yep.
And why that is causing you irreparable harm, and why you are due any kind of damages. You've got to be very specific about that stuff. And if you're not, the judge is going to kick it back to you and say, fix this. I can't do anything with this.
Yeah.
Because the defendants don't know how to defend themselves against you all did everything bad against us. You can't prepare a defense. If I'm this FBI agent, right, Nicole Miller, who's named in this lawsuit, and the Proud Boys are like, you did evil stuff to us. Here's a list of 10 things that we don't like. And if you don't tell me which of those 10 things I specifically did, I can't mount a defense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's almost like they got a Trump lawyer. as much as they're effing up this.
Yeah, is it Stanley Woodward? Who's their lawyer?
Yeah, but man, what is going on here, man? Somebody just trying to get a payday, I guess.
Patrick Byrne or Sidney Powell or whatever. It's garbage. It's a garbage lawsuit, and
it's not garbage Rudy.
Garbage in, garbage out. No, yeah, he's disbarred.
Yeah.
Can't get Rudy.
Well, yeah.
That's the end of that for now. We'll keep an eye on it. Like you said, Harry, they have until April 30th, right?
A lot going on, AG. A lot going on. And, with Congress coming back into session, like I said, this week, we hope that they move quick. Well, like I said, now, especially with Swalwell, do they even decide to move quick now? Do they do it?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are two other individuals on the Republican side, like we mentioned, that should be out too. So.
Yeah. Well, like you said, we'll keep an eye on all of it for you. Thank you all for listening. I totally understand this Swalwell business it's a gut punch for those of us who trusted him in his position of power. And I appreciate you, Harry, being so swiftly responsive to what happened. But he has now resigned from Congress and is not running for governor. And I'm expecting there will be more fallout from this. And, because whenever somebody comes forward, it creates a permission structure for other people to come forward. So I don't think we've seen the end or heard the end.
I think that's good, though.
It is very good.
I love that people find strength in seeing other people do things. I mean, just, I'm not making
this. That's what Mrs. Frazzled was trying to do. She's like, you're not alone.
And obviously not trying to change the subject but when I was speaking out about January 6th, that's how Sergeant Gannell came out. That he was like, "Man, you're so brave doing this by yourself. I'm going to join you." So it breeds courage. Courage. It's a saying that I'm looking, but I'm forgetting it. But what? Yeah, it's like a permission structure. People say, "Oh, well, he did it or she did it. I'm going to do it." So, like you said, is there more coming? Maybe. But also, I meant to say this earlier when we were talking about the Swalwell thing, and to the people that are saying, why did it take so long? Did you all feel the same way about E. Jean Carroll?
Mm-hmm.
Why did it take her so long, right? Did y'all ask those questions? I don't think that they did. And I just think it's not fair. A lot of times it takes so damn long because people get asked that question or people get criticized, and it's not fair.
It's real hard to come out and talk about it.
Yep.
Like I said, only 2% or so of rapes actually result in a conviction in court. And you have to get dragged through the mud and asked over and over again all those questions. Why were you drinking? Why did you send nudes? Why did you do this? Why did you do that? All of that stuff. It's re-traumatizing. And anybody who knows anyone who is a SA survivor knows the people who've gone through that. So the bravery is pretty astounding. And this latest one, the most egregious one, happened just in 2024. It wasn't, like you said, in a 1980s Bergdorf dressing room. But that's still a viable and credible complaint. And a judge adjudicated that Donald Trump had raped E. Jean Carroll. So anyway, but I also understand there are dirty tricksters out there. Roger Stone came out and said he knew something was coming, but I mean, he just has been on Threads and following Mrs. Frazzled. We all sort of saw some stuff that was about to happen, but and Jacob Wool and Berkman, who I mentioned, who went after Mueller, and Tara Reid and that whole crew that went after Joe Biden. I understand the skepticism, but once you read that, the accounts, it becomes very, very clear, at least to me. Anyway, thank you all. I see you and I hear you. It's tough, but we always got to do the right thing. The right thing is never the wrong thing.
Correct. And it's never a wrong time to do the right thing.
Very good. Very well said, my friend. All right, everybody. We'll be back later this week with a bonus episode, and of course back in your ears next week. And keep an eye on your inbox. We're going to be having an end of April happy hour for patrons as well. So if you're a patron, keep an eye on your inbox. And if you want to become a patron, patreon.com/aisle45pod, AISLE45POD. Everybody, we'll see you next time. I'm Allison Gill.
Harry Dunn. Thanks, y'all.
Cleanup on Aisle 45 is written, researched, and produced by Allison Gill, with editing by Molly Hockey. Our art and logo design are by Joelle Reeder and Moxie Design Studios, and our music is composed and performed by Adam Orr. Cleanup on Aisle 45 is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, visit mswmedia.com. MSW Media.